Hey, this is Meredith Elliott Powell. You know what time it is. Well, maybe you don't because we're a little early this morning. Mark is up catching a flight. But welcome to A Sales Logic, the show where we dive into the strategies, discuss the steps, everything that you need to know to sell more effectively. So, Mark, you're coming to us from the American Airlines Lounge, right?
Yes, Admirals Club, Terminal C, DFW. But hey, we got a great show this morning. Thank you for cooperating early. We're going to be talking about how do you maximize the last 6 months of the selling season. Got a great question, great book, lightning round. Let's rock and roll.
All right, welcome back to A Sales Logic. As I said, we're a little early this morning. Mark's up catching a flight, but Mark, let's just dive in. Let's just do a quick show so we can get you on that plane.
Yeah, well, it's okay because we're talking about how do you maximize the last 6 months of the year. Here we are in July. I mean, what's happened to the year? It's gone by so fast. The question today comes from Juanita in Miami. She says, hey, I'm new in my role in manufacturing sales. I moved over from IT, love it, but I'm struggling. My sales leader is not very supportive and I'm behind on my sales goals. Any ideas? Okay, so you know what? I threw it into the sales logic brain. What's it come back with? Came back with some great stuff. It said, hey, first of all, transitioning to a new industry and yeah, it can be challenging, but several strategies. One is know your sales process. Stick with your sales process because there's a reason why it works. Stick with it. Second, avoid discounts. Hey, it may be tempting to sit there and no, don't discount. Manage expectations. And hey, a couple other things it says, seek support. Get peers around you who can help you. And most of all, it says continuous learning. Never stop learning. I know you got quite a few more ideas, so
Yeah, I mean, I would say number one, if I were sitting there, first of all, it's not surprising your sales leader isn't supportive. I mean, I really feel like in this business, if you get one good sales leader, you are ahead of the game. So I think where I would start is I would look back over the first 2 quarters of the year and ask yourself three very important questions. What did you do that worked? What are the behaviors that you did that actually got business? And then ask yourself the question, where did you waste time and effort? What was it effective? Did you call on the wrong customers? Did you attend the wrong networking events? Did you discount, like Mark said? And then ask yourself the last question, what do you need to be doing? How do you make yourself productive in the last 2 quarters of the year rather than busy?
you know, one of the things coming over into a new role, sounds like you've been with the company for a while. It's going to be very easy to focus on the product knowledge, product knowledge. It seems like anytime somebody's new to sales, that's what they load you up on. Be careful of that because I'll tell you what, customers really don't care about product knowledge. They want solutions, they want answers. What you need to learn is how do you communicate? How do you connect with your customers? And that is, you've got to be willing to develop the relationships. The same things that you used, Juanita, in your job, in your IT role, in terms of team meetings and working with people, those same things apply in sales. Sales is a relationship business. Take your time to understand it. But boy, most of all, listen to sales logic brain where it says, stick with the sales process. Because undoubtedly there's a process that's in place. Don't think that you can circumvent that. You know what? No, don't. Stick with what works. Stick with what they're giving you for right now.
Yeah, I would go back to my existing customers, the ones where I did land business, and do a little bit more exploration there. Really try to figure out, talk to them, say, what do you like about the product? What was of interest to you? I mean, they're already on your team, so learn from them. Why did they hire you? Where did they find out about you? Um, Really get more clear on your ideal customer profile because I have a feeling if you're struggling to close business, it really could start there.
And very much so. And when you're talking to them, you're going to find out what are the solutions? Why did they go with you? And what are those outcomes? What difference did your company, did your product or service make with them? That's what you really want to understand because that's what you're going to be using. Where the topic is how do we make the last 6 months of the year really rock? Well, it starts with existing customers, and that's what we're telling Juanita. It's what we're telling everybody. Dial in on your existing customers, because again, there's a tremendous amount of business that we can gain from them by giving them additional or getting them to refer us, link us to other opportunities.
Yeah, I love, welcome, Natalie. You are such a good, supportive soul up here early with us today. She said, surround yourself with other people that inspire you to level up. Gaining outside advice is so valuable. Like, she's part of the Sales Logic Mastermind. That's right. That's what we do in that Sales Logic Mastermind. Being with that is, you need to find a mentor. You need to learn from somebody who has already done this, who is exceeding at their sales goals. So you said your sales leader isn't doing that for you. Go outside of your sales leader, look around. Maybe there's other people on the team. Maybe there's other people in other industries, but go out, think about joining the Sales Logic Mastermind. Go out and get yourself around successful salespeople where you can share advice, but more importantly, you can be vulnerable and ask for their ideas and their input.
We can't stress that enough, because again, I remember when I joined the company, there were 3 of us that were hired at the same time. We all came from different backgrounds, and we all kind of relied on each other. And you know what? That was a mistake, because none of us knew what we were doing. Our success would have been achieved much faster by going outside, just as you said, Mayor, finding other people that we can connect with, other people you can learn from. Because, I say this a lot, sales is not a solo activity. Sales is a team sport. And you've got to surround yourself, because if you can surround yourself with strong people that you can just watch, observe, they can coach you, they can mentor you, don't hesitate in reaching out to somebody and saying, hey, tapping them on the shoulder, would you be my mentor? That's why we really recommend the Sales Logic Mastermind, because that's really what that is. It's kind of a giant mastermind, a giant mentor program where people get to learn from each other.
Yeah, I would also say I would go talk to my sales manager. I mean, I would really sit down and talk to that person, even though they're not incredibly supportive or helpful. But I would go to them with a plan and I would say, here's what I've done so far. Here's what I'm thinking about changing, and ask for their ideas and input. And the reason I would do that is because you stand a much better chance of achieving your goals if they're bought in.
Oh, I love that. And along with that, then, you want to set your own personal goals. Now, your boss is probably going to give you goals that you've got to be achieving. Great, spot on. I would hope that. But you want to set yourself personal goals. And there's 2 types of goals that I want you to set. Developmental goals for you to develop. In other words, this is expertise. I remember when I came into a new role in sales, we had about 12 different lines of products to learn. And there was no way that I could learn all 12 of those at one time. So what I simply said was, I'm going to take 2 months, and I'm going to start with my number 1 product. I'm going to really spend 2 months really learning that product. Learned it, understand how customers benefit from it. Then I go to the next one. Yeah, it was going to take me 2 years to go through it. But I tell you what, playing the long game, it worked much better for me. Because really, once I learned 3 or 4 products, I had about 70% of the company's portfolio mastered. And I really mastered it.
Yeah, I would also ask, when you think about the fact that you're going to go and you're going to find a mentor and you're going to ask people for advice and input. Number 1, be prepared. Do not waste their time. Like, if I were going to go to Mark and I were going to say, I want you to be my mentor, I would go and I would be specific in what I needed him for. I'd maximize the time. Then I would figure out a way to help him. Figure out something that you could do that could add value to them, because anybody who is successful in sales, everybody's asking them for their time. And it can be daunting, the amount, if you gave everybody 5 minutes, the next thing you know, you lost 3 hours in a week. So make it worth their while to help you.
I love that. And what that means is that you provide them with a list of questions. Hey, maybe you're going to meet with them next week. You share it. Hey, here's 3 questions that I'd really love to get your help on. And I'll tell you what, make sure you thank them and appreciate them. And then, hey, you may not be in a position to help them, but you want to reach out to them and say, hey, how can I help you? Because again, they're giving of their time. And here's the whole thing. As your mentor gives you ideas and strategies with which you can run with, you put them into play, come back and share with your mentor the results that you got. Why? Because now that affirms to the mentor, hey, what they're giving to you, you're actually using and you're benefiting from. Because nothing worse. You and I we both have mentored plenty of people over the years. where you mentor them and you never hear from them again.
Yeah.
They never share with you any feedback. And you go, hold it. But you give them feedback. And I'll tell you what, that is going to help you. Because again, the topic today is how do you leverage the second half of the year? Well, you leverage the second half of the year by never stop learning. Because there's always something new that you can learn and take to the marketplace.
Yeah, I love what Andy says here. In sports, the final quarter, innings, etc., are the most exciting. Consider the second half quarter the time for vaulting, not inertia. Could not have said it better. Andy, when I read this, what I was thinking in my mind is by third and fourth quarter, what you've got is momentum, right? Because even if you didn't have a good first and second quarter, at least you're moving. At least you're in the game. You have a chance to turn it around. I'm obsessed right now. We're filming this at the time of Wimbledon, and the finals, ladies finals are today, and the men's finals are tomorrow. And I can't tell you, in women's finals it's 2 out of 3, and in men's finals it's 3 out of 5. And I can't tell you how many times the winner was down 1 or 2 sets and ended up turning it around, because exactly what Andy says, they're building on their mentor. They're building on their momentum.
Yeah, and you know what? That happens so often at Wimbledon, so often in tennis, period. You lose that first set, you lose that first 2 sets, and you still come back to win. But hey, here's something to keep in mind, though. Look at the second half of the year. It's not 6 months. It's not 6 months. Depending on the industry, depending on where you're at, you may be in an industry that kind of shuts down come the middle of November, or maybe it shuts down the middle of December. So guess what? That means your third quarter is your go-to. Oh, guess what? We're in the third quarter right now. And I'll tell you what, this is where so many salespeople fall down. Because again, we're going to be into the month of August here real soon. And there's going to be this temptation that people are going to say, well, everybody's on vacation. And I'll pick it up after Labor Day. That's a big mistake. Because by the time you do that, there's only 1 month left in the third quarter. And if you're chasing a number in the second half, you don't have any time to waste. Right now, during summer is the time that you got to be out there making it happen. Because again, you keep pushing it back, there's no way you're going to make that second half number.
Yeah, I think the thing that you really want to think about when it comes to this is the fact that, you got to realize that even if you don't make your number this year, everything that you're doing is planting the seeds for next year. Nobody in sales has had a record year every year. You've just, the forces outside of your industry. I was working with a client yesterday, and we're going to need to adjust their goal because so much is happening from a regulatory standpoint that they're not going to hit their number. And they're doing everything they can to hit their number, but they're not going to get there. That's okay, because things will shift in the next year, and everything that you're doing now, it has got to be like a habit, like just something you do every day blindly without thinking.
And what that means is don't play the short game. It can be so tempting when you get desperate that you only go for the short, quick deals. And what we're talking about here is don't stop working on those long-term deals, because again, you're planting seeds. There may be some big opportunities. There may be some opportunities for you, Juanita, to say, hey, there are some other people in my company. I need to take you on the sales call. Because again, we're gonna have an opportunity, have a meeting, and we're gonna plant some seeds that may not harvest anything this year, but they'll certainly allow us to get next year. And that's the whole thing, because something I always marvel about top performers. They never play the short game 100%, and they never play the long game. They 100%. In other words, they're always balanced. They always have deals that they're closing now, and they have seeds that they're planning for further down the road. And that's what makes them successful. Juanita, if you want to have a long-term career in sales, take that to heart.
Yeah. So let's just review a couple of things that we've done here. It's number one, take a breath. It's okay. It's fine. We've all been there. We've all been in the second quarter of the year, not quite hit our goals. Number two, you need to sit down with your sales manager and talk about what's going on. Number three, make a plan. Really review the first 2 quarters and ask yourself what worked, what didn't work, what could I be doing better? I don't care if anybody listening to this, if you have hit your sales goals, that's a great exercise for you to do. Just sit down and just go through it. And then find a mentor, find somebody who can help you and go to them with a plan and be specific. And then to Natalie's point, take action.
Hey, Fabio, great to have you joining us from Brazil. Great. Welcome to the show this morning. Hey, here's the other piece, though, as you dissect everything. So look at your individual sales call. And what I want you to do for next week, or maybe even the next 2 weeks, I want you to write down every question that you asked, every type of answer that you hear. How did you structure the call? What did you do? In other words, the idea is that you dissect it. And you do this for a week or two, and you're going to begin to see, this is how I need to start my calls. This is how I do a great call to action. This is what my good questions are. And you're going to begin to dissect it, because anybody new in sales, and anybody for that matter, you have to be continuously learning. And one of the best ways to do it is you become a self-learner. You watch your own skill set and you say, how do I improve it? I do this all the time. I'm constantly going back and saying, what questions work? What can I change? What can I do? But I want to come back and really give people some action items on the second half of the year. Because here's one thing. Don't stop prospecting. Don't stop prospecting. We've been talking about you deal with existing customers. That's great and so forth. And you played a long game, you built it along stuff. But don't hesitate. Don't stop doing the prospecting, the regular prospecting. This is like going to the gym every day. There's certain activities you do not deviate yourself from, period. And that's going to help you make the second half and set you up for next year.
So 2 questions that I love to ask clients when I'm working with them, and I am amazed at how many cannot answer these 2 questions. And everybody listening needs to be able to answer these 2 questions. When you win business, why do you win business when you get the deal? When you lose, why do you lose? And when you know the answers to those questions, it is going to change your sales process completely and change your closing ratio. Why? Because now you know what to put up front and you know what to position when you're talking and engaging with customers. You also know from a litmus test if this is something that is important to a customer. So really, really ask yourself those 2 questions.
And be brutal with yourself. It is so easy for us to assume, well, that was outside of my control. That was outside. Hey, hold it. You know what? You can always make excuses. You've got to be brutal on yourself and ask, how do I change this? And many times what it is, it's just restructuring one thing. It may be just shifting something. It's something so minor. And the other piece that you got to remember is, what's your mindset going in? What's your mindset going into the call? Because again, are you going in with a clear set of expectations as to what you want out of every call? Are you, Juanita, going into every day, every week with a clear set? This is why we talked earlier about you setting your personal goals. Yeah, you got to set your personal goals. And what are my plans to achieve them? And am I evaluating myself on a regular basis? Because again, there's business out there. It is going to be very easy for anybody in the second half to sit there and say, I'm going to miss my number because of X. And there's plenty of X's out there. But you know what? Those X's are impacting everybody. And the champions are the ones that don't allow X's to bother them. They figure out a way to work it out. Never think for a moment that there's no business out there.
Yeah, well, Mark, we want to get you on that plane. So let's transfer to the book and to the lightning round.
Hey, the book is 30 Days to Sales Success. This is a game changer, and it's written by Meridith Elliott Powell. Meridith, why don't you tell us a little bit about what people can expect when
So we'll put a link to in the show notes. But I wrote this book because the biggest question that I was being asked was, how do you turn a prospect into a customer? And I literally wrote the steps of how you turn a prospect into a customer and a customer into a champion. Literally somebody who ends up referring you business. And it is a step-by-step guide that you do in 30 days. It's a thin little book. And you do it in 30 days. It is going to help you really understand, define, and get every little nuance of the sales process in place. Every chapter is no more than 600 words. Piece of cake to read, and every chapter's got a tool for easy execution and implementation.
Which makes it the perfect book to be reading right now in July. because you're going to be able to implement it and really impact your business in the second half. And again, that's one of the things that we strive to do. Give you tools that you can run with right now. Okay, are you ready for the lightning round?
I am.
Okay, top 10 ways to build a circle of influence. Go.
Number one, look within your existing circle of influence, your existing connections and network, and really think about who would I like to have in my circle of influence.
2, establish a reason as to why you're creating. What's the objective? What's the end game? So you know kind of what type of people to be looking for.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Number 2, really start to look about when you think about a circle of influence, look at where your business has come from and think about including those. For example, when I was in banking, a circle of influence for us was always a CPA, an attorney, an insurance person. But when I really looked at it, I had 3 clients that loved me, that referred me a lot of business. So I put them in my circle of influence.
When you think of your circle of influence, think of subject matter experts, people who can really give you some expertise, and then think of those people who can help you develop your business. Again, those may be 2 separate circles, but again, this comes back to knowing what is it that you're trying to create in your circle of influence.
Yeah, I love the fact that you're talking about 2 circles of influence, because I'm going to add a third. The third circle of influence needs to be internal to your organization. Who do you need to know and who do you need to connect with in order to get things done or to get the information that you need in order to be successful with your customers?
And I'm going to add a 4th circle.
Okay.
4th circle is a very tight group that you can be absolutely full disclosure with it. These are people who are really going to critique you and you're going to critique them, but they are your 24/7 coaches. And you know, one of the ways to find that, join the Sales Logic Mastermind.
Absolutely. Number 7, get clear about what your expectations are. What are you going to give your circle of influence? What value are they going to gain from being connected to you? And what is your expectation of them?
Wow, you kind of stole that from me, because I was going to have number 8, what knowledge are you learning so that you can be actively sharing? Because again, the circle of influence has to go 2 ways. If you're expecting people to only give to you, that isn't a circle. You're just taking. You want to be giving more than you're taking.
Yeah, and number 9, I would say that think about changing out and continuing to expand and shift your circle of influence. Don't think that this is a stable group. So you want to make sure that you're consistently changing it out.
Man, you're stealing things from me right and left. I need to go first because I was going to have.
Okay, all right. Next week you go. Next week, no. Next week you go first.
Hey,
I can add another one. So you go. That can be yours.
It's okay. I love it. But this just tells you how we think alike. Because again, when you're successful, you have this train of thought. Here's something. Who are the aspirational people? Who are the aspirational people that you want to really aspire to be like? You know, they can be in your circle of influence. If they feel that there's enough, you're going to be supportive of them. Okay, go ahead and share another one. If you want.
I'm gonna share another one. Is that you need to decide with your circle of influence at least to touch base with them on a quarterly basis. I mean, you need to structure this and make sure that you're working and adding value to that circle of influence consistently. Like with my circle of influence, I just have marked every single quarter that I meet. I have coffee. I do something with those people in that circle of influence.
Absolutely. And of course, one of those big circles of influence we want you to check out Sales Logic Mastermind. Go to saleslogicpodcast.com. You're going to see it there. Join. We had a great call on Monday. It's amazing. People are connecting. But anyway, hey, with that, we want to say thank you for listening to Sales Logic. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. If something we've said has earned you a single dollar, would you consider telling a friend? Because it's how we grow when we help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
all of this uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
And the sale becomes logical. And get ready for next week's show, because, is it going to be epic or what?
It is going to be, epic. All right. Think about joining us at the Sales Logic Mastermind. Remember, we feature you here on the show. If you have a question, go to saleslogicpodcast.com, enter it there. Thank you to the audience for joining us early today, and we'll see you right back here next week, same time, same place. 8 a.m. Eastern. Sorry, we'll be back on our regular time, and have a great week.